Every lesson is a lyric in the universal song. Oh, the lessons of the journey, I'll weave them in my song.
Hello and welcome to Lessons of the Journey, where we discuss the stuff we actually needed to learn in school with Coach Jen and Coach Nicole. Over the last few episodes, we explored the roots of conflict, why it's not inherently bad, how our attachment styles shape our responses, and how to stay connected even when things get hard. But what happens after the storm passes? So today we're talking about something that doesn't get enough airtime: reconciliation, repairing the rupture. This is models for reconciliation and moving forward in strength in your relationships. How we rebuild trust, dignity, and connection when it's been bruised, and when reconciliation might not be the right goal at all. So Jen, would you please start us off by defining reconciliation?
Absolutely. So I'm going to go with dictionary.com. The very first version is the act of coming to an understanding and putting an end to hostility, as when former enemies agree to an amicable truce. Also, the restoration of friendly relations. So, can we agree to that?
I think that sounds good.
All right. Well, then, what is reconciliation really? Reconciliation is not the same as just forgiving or ignoring or moving on. It actually involves acknowledging the harm, repairing trust, and often rebuilding a connection. Sometimes it's mutual and sometimes it's personal. Like you have to come to this inner reconciliation of being okay with whatever's going on, whether the other person involved can or won't. Here's a great quote. There's no peace without truth, no truth without pain, no healing without naming. And this was adapted from Truth and Reconciliation work from Desmond Tutu.
Nice. I know that's our goal, is reconciliation. I definitely want to talk a little bit about resolution and repair, because this is about reconciliation, resolution, and repair. And there is a difference between resolution and repair. So resolution is a firm decision to do or not to do something. We've made a decision to resolve this. Great. Kind of misses a piece of this, though, and that's the repair, which is the fixing or mending of something suffering from damage or a fault. This is where we do the fixing or the mending. If we just choose the resolution, okay, we're going to stop this conflict, we're just going to move on, but we don't do the repair, we are missing a piece. And actually, repair is more important than resolution. Something to remember is conflict doesn't have to end in agreement. So resolution and repair do not have to mean we agree. It just needs understanding. You know, we love the Gottmans if you've been listening to our conflict series. So Gottman research, successful couples don't avoid conflict. They know how to repair after it. Mm-hmm. This is so important. So what does a repair attempt actually look like? Could be a small gesture, apology, or a shared laugh that de-escalates tension. These are things that can happen to actually repair within the conflict. Examples: hey, that came out wrong. Or can we start over? Or even saying, I love you even though I'm mad. See, all these things helped that de-escalation.
Loving the Gottmans. Can we point out that this small gesture, apology, or laugh that de-escalates is not the changing of the tides. It's not, oh, that happened and let's ignore it and let's move over here. Like sometimes I do that with my kids. Ouch, that hurt. Let's go get ice cream, right? It is not that. It is really the de-escalation. Can we start over? Okay, but let's really talk about the thing that just happened. We de-escalated, we didn't change course. And I think that's really important in this repair aspect that we're talking about.
I would agree with you. In fact, I might even say that your example you were giving was resolution with no repair.
Yes.
It was, let's just move on. Mm-hmm. Well, we have some mending to do.
Yes.
I kept the term fix for you men. Men are from Mars. You tend to be fix-its. So I left the word fix. For me, mend works better. You have to do that mending. When you do what you were talking about, ignoring it, moving on, we're not you doing the mending.
Correct.
With children, it's interesting you brought that up because I do think you mend, but later when they're calm and when you're back into your self-regulation and you've calmed, then you can have a conversation with them. A child freaking out is not like an adult freaking out. Approach in a very different way.
I think that that's the hard part of the mending or the repair is bringing up that really uneasy thing again after things have calmed down. That's where there's a lot of courage and, vulnerability that comes in there. Like, hey, we got through that and let's make sure that we have an understanding moving forward. That's that really important piece. Because a lot of us are like, nope, everything's okay. We don't want to bring it back up because when we brought it up before, it was really a wacky thing and we won't want to get there again. That's exactly what we're talking about here is the ability to come back and make it better.
Yes. And let's talk a little bit about the science of emotional repairs. When repair happens early, cortisol levels actually just decrease and your emotional safety increases. So when we can do those repairs in the midst of conflict, that's happening as early as it can. So that's when we can decrease that, reset the levels, which is a wonderful thing. Secure relationships do show faster return to emotional baseline. That's Gottman and Levinson, 1992. I want to talk about something that my husband and I use. We've come up with this term, we are allowed to ask each other for a pass. And asking for the pass is the concept of, I made a mistake, I blew it, can I have a pass from you? And the pass is basically saying, can we move past it without me having guilt behind it? And how are you? Are you okay with it? Or do we need to talk about it? Because especially for me, I have a tendency to hold things that I've done that I consider to be mistakes really heavily in my heart. And asking for the pass lets it go. And we both understand that if we agree to the pass, we agree to let it go completely.
I love that.
There's no more need to apologize. It's done. I made a boo-boo. I screwed up in the way I showed up, or because we make mistakes in conflict all of the time. So we sometimes need this pass. It's a beautiful thing to have.
Yeah. And I like the do-over. We do that in our family. Would you like to try that again? Sometimes my kids will come to me and say, Mom, can I do that again?
Beautiful.
Then they will replay the way that they wish they would have responded to the thing. And it's not just for kids.
I love that. I need to redo
Yeah.
it.
And especially with children, we talk about interpersonal relationships. They are learning. They don't know. And really, I have to go, shoot, they probably learned that from me somewhere. So yes, absolutely. Let's all do this over.
I love that. Can I have a redo?
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, those are both great tools.
I like your pass. I like it because I raised my hand when you were saying you carry things with guilt. Oh my gosh, my whole life. I think I was birthed with guilt that I don't even know where it came from. And I'm just holding on to everything that I can to make myself feel poorly all of the time. So I really like that you and Tim came up with the pass because you have that agreement. I think that's a very special thing.
Yeah, those are awesome.
Let's talk about common blocks to repair. And I will tell you, I have not experienced any of this in my personal life. I'm just kidding. All of it. All of the things. And really, the Gottman work has done so much for me. So pride is one of them. Some of the hardest things to do is to get over yourself. And sometimes it's very ego driven. This like, oh, I'm not going to do that because, get over it. Perfectionism is another block to repair. No, don't tell me that I was wrong because that would mean that something inside of me says that I'm not good enough. We talked about that in session 3 of the conflict code for me. Fear of rejection or simply not having a model for reconciliation. You've never seen it done before, so you don't know how. So there's a script. You can overcome blocks by memorizing this and just get ready to say it. I want to repair this, but I don't know how. I want to repair this, but I don't know how. And that's when, help me, help you, help me.
Yeah, that's such a great statement. I just want to point out that I do think there's a vulnerability there.
Absolutely.
But think about how you would receive someone saying that to you. I want to repair this, but I don't know how. That is beautiful vulnerability. I would be like, I love you too. That's literally you saying to me, I love you enough to care. Yet I know for some of us, I want to repair this, but I don't know how, feels vulnerable. And yet I'm telling you that comes across as I love you so much. This matters to me.
Yeah, Brene Brown, we talk about her all the time. She talks so much about we live in this culture of you're supposed to know, and it gets embarrassing for people if they don't have all of the answers. So instead of an answer seeking society, we live in this knowing society, and it makes a statement like this a very vulnerable thing. I agree with you. That is love right there, coming out and just saying, I don't know, let's find the answers together, but this matters to me.
It feels very team, feels very win-win.
Yeah. So let's talk about reconnection rituals. What can we do to help ourselves regularly feel like we are connected to somebody? You can do daily check-ins, like, hey, how's your day going? How you feeling? That's an important one in our family is, how are you feeling? Versus what happened today, which is kind of a G, right? So how are you feeling? Shared humor, inside jokes, a little poke, a meme, whatever. I'm thinking about you is what that says. Hugs, touch, or shared gratitude. You hear me say all the time, that's how our family comes together, is in gratitude. Then simple routines that help rebuild the trust after repeated conflicts. I think the greatest apology is change to behavior. And if you can commit yourself to the routine that shows that you have understood what happened and you are working on improving it, I think that's the greatest way to show it. It's not a difficult thing to go, oh, okay, that happened because of this, so I'm going to rebuild a routine to help me move forward in a different way.
Yeah. And we're going to dive into some other ones because we want to get in deep into some reconnection rituals. I love that. Let's talk a little bit about the 4-stage reconciliation model. This is 4 stages. It starts with truth telling. So you invite both parties to share how they experienced the rupture. This is the reconciliation. This is, we had a conflict, big C, little c, depends on what it was. Truth telling. Now both parties get to come and say, how did that feel for you? What were the emotions involved?
I statements. Yeah.
How did I experience this? You tell me how you experienced this. Now, I love this. We need to own the impact, not just the intention.
Yeah.
This is really tough for me sometimes because I will say that's not what I meant. That's not the way I intended it. You're not understanding. And that doesn't matter because I have to own the impact of how it affected the other person. And I have to own the impact of what that person tells me was their experience with this. Not easy.
No.
So beautiful.
It is. It's that pride thing.
Yes.
It's like, no, I can't be wrong. I didn't mean to. If you knew me better, you would understand that. No. We just did this in my house. I have 3 boys and Max stepped on my foot with his cleats. Well, did Max intend to hurt you? No, but did it hurt you? Yes. So we have to understand that although it was an accident, it still had impact. Then I had to go further. When somebody tells you that you or your actions hurt them, you don't get to tell them that they are wrong.
Yeah, so good. You have to own that impact. I love that. Yeah, I'm working on this one. Own the impact, not just the intention. Because how often do we hurt someone without intention? Probably 99% of the time, I would say. We don't intend it. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we're mad and we want to be a jerk. Let's own that 1%. Yeah. But that's not who we are in our core. Most of us are very good people. We just come across in ways and it's like, no, that's not what I meant. Okay. Yeah. But I impacted you and I hurt you and I have to own that. Now, step 3, this stage is optional. You have to know it exists. You have to be aware. You have to know it's your option. Forgiveness. So what is the definition of forgiveness? The definition is to stop feeling angry or resentful towards someone for an offense, flaw, or mistake. First word, you have to stop feeling angry or resentful. How many times have we had a conflict where we chose not to forgive? I would even challenge you and say, did you even know this was a choice. I can forgive if I want to. Knowing the option so we can put into practice, so we can create habits. You have the option of forgiving, and that's up to you.
Yeah.
Step number 4, renewal. Now we are rebuilding new agreements or rituals. How will we handle this differently next time? How will we get out of this pattern that maybe doesn't work for us? Maybe this conflict was not a pattern. And yet a lot of our conflicts are patterns, aren't they? So how are we going to do this differently next time? Great question.
You know what's really interesting, and only because I am and have done the work. The Gottmans tell us that 69% of the problems in any given relationships are perpetual problems. Things like, well, he never makes the bed, or she leaves her side table messy, or I need help with the dishes. The regular things that continue to come up.
And the perpetual is the reason we have to say, do we both
Yes.
want to choose to handle this differently next time?
Yes. The Gottmans, of course, because they're brilliant, came up with this repair model. And 4 things. So conflict isn't the problem in relationships. Disconnection is the problem in relationships. For repair attempts, we need things like small bids. This is turning toward. We need bids of humor, affection, those softened startups. Things like that are going to be an attempt to soften the hurt. We need to regulate first. Remember, we talked about being flooded in the entire conflict series. We need to be regulated first. When both people feel safe, you return. And understanding that repair is often nonverbal. Sometimes a repair is a hug. Sometimes it's a wink. Sometimes it's a smile. Sometimes it's a high five. So not always are we going to have a verbal agreement between two people that says, we are fixed now. And we need to observe nonviolent communication. So there are 4 steps to nonviolent communication. The first is observation. The second is feeling. The third is need. And the 4th is request. So you observe what's going on. You have a feeling about what's going on. You understand what you need in this moment, and then you ask for it. That's the request. This helps to keep the dialogue open instead of defensive. We talked about defense as one of the 4 horsemen in the conflict code. This also increases the chances of mutual understanding, even if it's not agreement. Remember earlier we said that repair is not agreement necessarily. It is mutual understanding. So you can use this phrase. Try this. When I see X, I feel Y because I need Z. And then you can see what happens. Of course, you put your things. When I see the kitchen dirty, I feel dismissed because I need clear spaces to feel good in this home, or something to that effect. We really have to understand what the need is before we start, because then those requests aren't I request, they're you things. And then that causes the conflict to begin with.
I need a cheat sheet for my conflict. I'm going to create a conflict. Like, you know how we used to study for school on those 3x5 cards?
Yes.
I'm going to create a conflict card and keep it with me so that I can actually pull it out, because I will never think of this, but I love this. It'll remind me. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that.
Yeah. You may not be surprised to hear that we actually have that in our house.
I'm not. You're ahead of me.
As we went through the Gottman work, it was, we're not going to remember this, because when you're starting the heat of the moment kind of stuff, it's what is that phrase that will make it better? So yeah, we have the 4 horsemen, we have the antidote for the 4 horsemen, and then we have some little phrases that are each other approved that help us move through that. I'm telling you, it is work. It is work, y'all.
I love that the other person approved too, because if the people that you have the most conflict with, if they approve the statements, oh, that's brilliant. Yeah, I'm going to do that. Observation, feeling, need, request, and then that example.
There you go.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so smart. All right. Now I have a question for all of you. Who are you still holding anger toward, even silently? And what might letting go look like for you? Not them, you. So I want to talk a little bit about when reconciliation isn't the goal. Okay. Not every relationship is meant to be rebuilt. Reconciliation does not have to mean reunion. It is okay to repair internally, set boundaries, and release the need for closure from the other. So sometimes reconciliation is actually choosing peace in your own nervous system, not in the relationship. There are relationships where reconciliation should not be the goal. If you are not being treated correctly, if this is an abusive situation, if you decide that this is someone who is just way outside your boundaries, then reconciliation is not the goal, and that is okay. If no one's ever given you permission, we give you permission right now. So I'll read that quote again. Sometimes reconciliation is choosing peace in your own nervous system, not in the relationship. Whew.
Yeah.
Breathe that in.
Wow. How often have we heard, well, but it's family. Blood is thicker than water. You only have one brother, or you only have one dad, or whatever. And somebody's sitting here saying, this is an awful situation for me to be in, and I don't ever feel good in it. And you're telling me just because I was born into this. So I guess my point here is this also includes family.
Absolutely. It does include family. And by the way, blood is thicker than water. Blood brothers are brothers from another mother, not actually through blood that make the cut on their fingers and join their blood. The blood of the brother is thicker than the water of the womb, is what they are now saying is a possible definition for that statement. Yep.
I've never heard that before. I am mind blown.
I saw that on a video and I was like, that makes sense to me.
It makes so much sense.
That statement could be used either way.
Yeah. Because we also hear friends are the family you choose.
Yeah.
You really get to create your circle.
Yes.
And we are meant to thrive. And that's my personal opinion. Abundance is all around. So if you're in a situation that does not feel good all the time, find a way to not be in that situation.
Yeah.
If you can, really, because, oh, wow, there's so much goodness out there and feeling like you have to be a part of it. One other point, I talk to folks all the time about closure. Oh, I needed closure from such and such person. I needed to really wrap this all together in a pretty bow so that I felt okay moving on. I loved your quote there at the end. Nicole, will you say it one more time, please?
I will, because I'm thinking of that as you're saying this. Sometimes reconciliation or closure is choosing peace in your own nervous system, not in the relationship. I love that you brought that up because people will say that. I need closure. Great. Create it within your own nervous system.
Yes.
That's all you need.
Yes.
This is your life. And thank you for bringing up the family point. I think we all have to make decisions when it comes to relationships. And I will say every single relationship in your life, you have a choice. Do not think you don't. You have a right to a choice how that relationship is.
Yes. Thank you.
As far as whether it exists or not. Unless the other person doesn't want it. And that's okay too.
That's okay too. Yeah.
We can let that go.
Well, okay, then let's talk about what really does hold a relationship together. And it's really the simple daily things that keep connection strong. It's the little things along the way. Usually it's not some big grand gesture that goes, now we're here and that's going to be the thing that sustains us forever. It's the simple daily things that keep connection strong. Because when you have that foundation, conflict doesn't have to shake everything. When you have that foundation, conflict can move into repair easier. Dr. Stephen Porges says safety isn't just the absence of threat. It's the presence of connection.
Can I add something to what you said? Because I love the way you said that. This is just like if you say, I want to get into shape and you go to the gym once.
Yeah.
Relationships are exactly the same. What you said every day. The consistency over time to keep it healthy. And even if you go to the gym for 3 months, if you then stop, are you going to stay healthy?
Right?
This is consistency, right? Love that.
Yeah. Well, and I love that gym example because it's easy. So you go to the gym regularly and then you go, I had that donut that Sunday morning. Guess what? I'm back in the gym the next day. It's really not going to have that kind of impact. And that's what we're talking about here. Let's call conflict the donut. If you're regularly maintaining this strong connection, that conflict or that donut isn't going to impact the strength of what you have going, what you're creating long term, little bits at a time.
That's a great analogy, although I love the donut and I don't love the conflict. One gives me pleasure, one gives me pain. But I do love the way you put that.
So the Gottmans talk about turning toward. So what does that mean? In the Gottman principle in relationship, we make bids for attention or bids for affection. It could be a sigh. It could be a question. It could be a laugh with a touch. That's me showing that I'm looking toward you to create this connection. So strong couples respond to these bids with interest, even if ever so briefly. So that sigh and somebody goes, oh, I love you too. Or whatever that looks like, or or the I told a stupid joke and you laugh anyway, and that's it. That is an attempt at connection. Gosh, I hear dad jokes all the time, and as much as I'm like, oh Lord, keep your day job, it's that was so dumb. Let's not do that anymore. Love you. Try this. When your partner says, hey, look at this, instead of staring on your phone and scrolling and going, what? Stop and engage, if even for just a few seconds. Show that they matter. Number 2, we can say something appreciative every day. I love getting compliments. I'm a words of affirmation kind of girl. Compliments, acknowledgments, thank yous, they build a bank of goodwill. This makes me think. My kids put quarters in their piggy bank and they're like, yeah, think about this. These bids are building up your relationship bank account. And so that way, when conflict happens, it's not emptying the entire piggy bank. It's like, we can recover from this. So simple gratitude. Thank you for making dinner. Thank you for cleaning up. Thank you for whatever. Or, you're really good at calming me down when I'm overwhelmed. Things like this. We were doing a bunch of work yesterday at my house, and I had my 5-year-old vacuuming out the sand in my car because Hawaii and summer. And their dad was doing something, and I came up to him and I put my arms around him and I said, it feels really good that I can count on you. And can I tell you how far that goes? Really, these small deposits, they matter so much more than we actually think.
So true. I love that. Those are brilliant. I got to tell you, the one where you said turn toward. So Tim will love that I shared this, but he has a little bit of a hearing problem as he's getting older. And sometimes I don't know if he heard me. Like I'll ask a question or I'll make a statement and he doesn't even respond. Mm-hmm. And it almost hurts my heart a little bit. And then I have to remember, and I'll go, did you hear me? And he'll go, no. Or he'll say yes. And then I'll say, why didn't you acknowledge me? Because I feel like, how come you didn't acknowledge me?
Yeah.
It's so sad, but it's true. I can relate to that big time. Big time.
I mean, it happens across the board. We're dealing with that, again, with the kids. They love their big brother and they'll just annoy the heck out of him. And he'll just kind of shut down sometimes. And he'll just not respond. And I'll say, did you hear your brother? Yeah. Well, why would you ignore him? That's just actually very rude. Just an okay or the I hear you or something. Because, kids also ask 1,000 times in the same breath. So yes. I get that you're annoyed. I get that it's bothersome. And the way to help yourself in that is just acknowledge. Yes, yeah. I hear you. Or yes, it's just a nice trait. You need it in all of life.
Yeah, agreed. Just a little bit of acknowledgement, knowing, and I love that you use the phone analogy. You're talking, you're looking at your phone, you're scrolling on social media, you're doing whatever, you're distracted by a game, and you don't even have enough love for me to acknowledge that I just spoke to you.
Yeah,
that's a tough one for me. Okay, moving on to number 3, mind your storytelling. First of all, I want to ask, who are you talking to about your partner and what is the story you are telling them? And will those stories make it so this person dislikes the person you love moving forward because how you spoke about them when you were mad or frustrated? This is when we're telling the stories out in the world about, Tim pissed me off because he did this or he did that, and I'm telling a friend this, and the friend's like, well, Tim's a jerk. And then they, meet Tim a month later and they're like, well, you're a jerk husband. It's like, no, wait. So how are you talking about the person that you care about or that you love? And not just my husband, but other people in my world. Same with everybody else. The people in your world, how are you communicating? And are you taking ownership when you're out there telling the stories too?
So this has happened a few times in life, as it does. One of my very dear friends, in the one of many times that she broke up with her now husband. He's a jerk. He's this. He's that. I'm moving out right now. 1:00 in the morning. I'm out. I'm right. If I were to jump on that bandwagon, yeah, he's a jerk. I never liked him anyway. How awkward would that be when they got back together? Time and time again. Now I'm the asshole friend that's like, I never liked him anyway. Oh, just kidding. We're getting married. Shit. I was like, just team you and I didn't mean it. It's hard to pull that back in.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Ooh, that's a tough one. Yeah, that's really important. Mind your storytelling. There's another side to minding your storytelling too. Psychologist Dan Weil said, when choosing a partner, you also choose a set of problems. Think about this. Instead of framing your partner as the problem, get curious about the dynamic. What's this conflict trying to teach us about our patterns? I'm always curious about what makes people tick.
Yes.
I think it's really important. Even when we meet people in life, like we look at them and we're seeing a snapshot of life. We don't know all their history. We don't know all their baggage. We don't know all their stuff. And yes, when you choose to have a relationship with someone else, there's problems there. And we all have problems. And understanding also what led to what's going on with them and being open to knowing that. So it's that getting curious about the dynamics of your relationship and also that person.
Yeah.
I have my own issues and there are problems I have, and my partner knows why. He understands the backstory and it makes him feel so much compassion when I'm going through certain things, and also be able to see my patterns when I'm going through them so he doesn't have to take them personally. So there's so much to that storytelling that I think is important. Mind your storytelling.
Yes.
That's number 3.
Yeah.
Number 4, use gentle startups for hard topics. We talked about this. Avoid leading with blame. This is the you. You do this all the time, or you never do this. Instead, use the soft starts. I've been feeling a little disconnected lately. Can we talk? This will also reduce defensiveness and increases resolution success. I got to soften myself. Damn it.
All toward enlightenment, Nicole. We got this.
Freaking enlightenment's tough. Jeez.
Yeah. I hear it mostly from men, but the can we talk later is like the least favorite thing for somebody to hear.
Yeah.
God, what did I do? What do I have to defend myself from?
Oh no, what did I do wrong?
What happened?
And is that always the pattern?
Yeah.
Is that created? So you have to ask yourself in your relationship, is that created by the pattern of every time I say to my partner, can we talk? I want to complain. Okay, then we might have a problem. Can we talk? I'm feeling this way. How can we solve this? Can we talk? How are you feeling?
Yeah.
Is that ever the conversation when you say, as a woman to a man, if you are in a male-female relationship, if you say, can we talk? Do you ever then, as the woman, show up and say, how are you feeling?
Yeah. I work with a lot of men. That's a common complaint that men have is my feelings matter too. And yet nobody cares.
Yeah.
In the same conversation in a different room, the woman is saying the exact same thing. He doesn't care about my feelings. And so how is it that we have a disconnect when both of us are feeling the same way? And how can we get there in a softened way to come together with what that looks like and not become defensive because somebody is making a request, not telling that you are wrong in some way, shape, or form? We have to care. We have to look on the inside and say, I care about this person and their feelings do matter to me. And have I been showing up in a way that they need me to show up? Because maybe not. Maybe I need a recalibration.
Yeah, and I would dare to say that these are connection concepts that we're going over that are sort of your daily things. I would also ask, are you connecting once a quarter? Are you sitting down and saying, how are things going for you? I go through a workbook with my husband every year. We do it in January. We'll go through this entire workbook. Each of us have to sit down and go through it ourselves, and then we connect so that we can actually talk about our goals. And it covers everything from family to finance to our relationships to what we want to do more of. Then we come together and we take like 6 hours to go through this entire thing. Then we recheck in on it every quarter. So are you checking in on that person so that you understand how to support them? I think these are important things. If you're just showing up on the daily and you're not taking the time to go any deeper, whatever that looks like for you, that could be a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I love that you do that. I have heard it's necessary to spend an hour a week, a day a month, and then 2 to 3 days a year looking into things like this. Have you heard something similar?
Yes, I have. And it does change a little bit when you don't have kids are in your home. So I think the numbers are a little bit differently because Tim and I are constantly checking in with each other. We may take that hour a week and do it with 10 minutes a night, right? Because we have the space for it. Because I don't have little kids at home anymore. When you have little kids at home, you must be way more intentional. That's why date night's important.
Yes.
And date night needs to be real conversations sometimes. And we have to have the space for each other. I think that's the key, is making the space for each other. So yes. And I feel like that's harder when the little ones are at home. That's when you have to be much more intentional about the timing of it. Yes, I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah. And I know we keep talking about romantic relationships or very intimate relationships. I just created a date night with each of my little boys. Yes. Because rare is it that I get to spend one-on-one time with them, and they are their own little humans. But most of the time we have them all together, and it's not enough individual attention. So that individual attention goes for everybody that you think matters to you in your life. Yeah. Maybe not as much time, right? We need the date night regularly, once a week for mom and dad. And we still need the ability to connect with all of the littles as individuals as well.
I agree with you 100%. When you're dealing with family dynamics, whether you're dealing with connections or conflicts, you have to remember that the dynamic is the interaction with each set of people. You take two people and you have an interaction. So you have an interaction with each of your children. That was always a thing when my kids were growing up. I would tell my husband, you've got to take each kid on a date once a month. You have to connect with just that child so they know that they can communicate with you and have a stronger bond with you. And I haven't been doing that with my granddaughters, although I do find time to spend time. The 8-year-old, maybe we've been swimming all day and everybody else goes in the house and her and I are just sitting on the loungers and we're chatting for like an hour. I love talking to that girl.
I love that.
She's so much fun. And I feel like we get that connection. But yes, are you getting that individual time with each of your children? And for me, I do take my boys out on dates sometimes, but not as often as I used to. And I probably could do it more often. I think there's value in that.
Absolutely.
So much value.
Absolutely.
I love that you do that.
Well, we just started it. So let's see. Yeah. And you get to know the individual. And as you know the individual, and then you see them as they are in the group setting, it really helps the dynamic that much more. It helps the discipline that much more. It helps the way you're talking to everybody that much more. But you gotta really invest that time. Just like we're talking about investing in the printout that I need for the conversations, right? Just what matters to me and how am I showing up inside of that?
Yeah. I think you're absolutely correct. I think for children, it teaches them that having individual time with you is an okay thing. So then when they want to have a private conversation, it doesn't feel awkward or odd.
Yeah.
Because they have that in their world.
Yeah.
I love that.
Okay, let's talk about making repair attempts and accepting repair attempts. Because, and I have been through this, it's one thing for somebody to say, hey, I want to make this better. And the other person to sit there and hold on to the nastiness or that, well, you might want to make it better, but I'm still pissed off. So I'm just going to sit here. And the other person's trying here. So yes, it's one thing to make a repair attempt. It's another thing to then recognize that that is a repair attempt and accept it in order to make that reconciliation. So it could be a joke. Recognize it. Oh, they're telling a joke. They're trying to de-escalate. Something's going on here. Or it could be a sigh, or it could be a smile, or it could be that phrase that, can we start over? Or can I have a pass, as Nicole and Tim do? These things all count as a repair. Then it's on the other person to recognize and accept that. And instead of holding on, laugh at the joke, or make a comment on the side, or smile back, or touch, or hug, or whatever that looks like. Or if somebody's vulnerable enough to say, hey, I don't know how to do this, can we try? Yeah, I'm in it with you. Let's try together. Can we start over? Yeah, I'd like that. May I have a do-over? Yeah, how would you do that differently? All of those things are inviting the repair and allowing for it. Because I'll tell you, what starts conflict over is somebody attempting a repair and not being received with acceptance.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. And the stronger the relationship, the more people recognize and accept these bids. That's where we're talking about the relationship bank. The more you put in, the more you put in, the more you put in, the easier it is for somebody to recognize and accept those bids for repair.
Love it.
Also, what we want to do is we want to create rituals of connection. A ritual can be really whatever you two decide that it's going to be. It could be morning coffee together. It could be texting at lunch, maybe. It could be a hug or a kiss when saying goodbye, or when receiving that person back in the home. It could be whatever you two decide it to be, that is something that you do together. Rituals bring predictability and security, especially in chaotic seasons like we all go through. Being able to count on these things really put people back in alignment.
So true. I remember somebody saying, I feel like you like your dog more than you like your wife and your kids. And he said, that's because when I walk through the door, the dog's happy to see me. There's truth to that.
Absolutely.
I mean, when my husband went, hi, honey. Oh, my honey's home. First of all, I'm happy he's home.
Yeah.
Second of all, I need to share with him that I'm happy he's home. I do think that's so important.
Yeah, I had to go through this myself. Am I greeting my partner the way I'm greeting my children? My children know that I am happy to see them when they come home from school. I missed you. What did you do today? I'm so interested in all of the things. What happened when I wasn't there? And am I treating my partner the same way?
Great question.
Yeah, that was a punch in the gut when it was raised to me a while back. Do you even care that I come home? Of course I care that you come home. It seems like you care more that the kids are here. So I'm just the vehicle of picking up your kids. No, I do care. Where does this come from? I was raised in a way that said, you're an adult. I don't need to care for you when you get here. These are kids. I need to care for them. So I put my partner in a place that said, well, you're an adult. Thanks for getting my kids home safe, but I got to deal with them now. I need to cultivate what's happening now, where your adult partner needs this as well. We all have feelings too. It's not just the kids. So if we're not getting it, we really feel abandoned sometimes. That breaks that connection. Being able to create that ritual really does help. The predictability, I tell you, that matters.
Yeah, it's interesting how we get caught in our habits of how we do our day.
Yeah.
And this is for everyone, even me who doesn't have children at home. You have a distraction. So you have to build in that extra energy to say, hey, this matters. I've got to do this. For me, it's just habitual. We're going through our life and I go, hey, I got to hug my husband in the mornings. We get up, we have our morning routine. It can all get very routine. And yet, are we letting that person know in the routine that they matter? I think it's so important.
Absolutely.
Along those lines, number 7 with building connection is checking in with curiosity, not assumption. And you were talking about this earlier. Or what was the statement you made? Because it was a good one. The question you asked.
How are you feeling versus what happened today?
Yes, what happened today? That feels like it has assumption. What happened today? Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. I wasn't in a car crash or anything. What would I do wrong? The question that I thought was a great example was, how's your heart today? Good question.
I like that.
How are you feeling today? What do you need more of lately?
I like that one.
Yeah. What do you need more of lately?
Yeah.
What do you need less of lately?
Then you're gonna get, I could use less of your bitching and whining about my to-do list.
Fair. We can have that conversation.
We can have that conversation. Yeah.
Partners grow and change. Checking in keeps the connection fresh. Never assume that you know where that person's at right at that moment. Never. And if you live with a woman in menopause, you'll learn that even if you ever thought that, it's never correct anymore.
We speak about this when we talk about the 4 agreements. Don't make assumption is one of the agreements. I say when I teach it, even regarding the person that sleeps in bed with you, you're not inside their head. You don't know. We like to think that, oh, day to day, everything. We don't know. The kids that sleep down the hall, we don't know what's happening inside of somebody on any given day. That's why, and I'm not trying to get dark, but when we hear about people taking their own lives and people go, oh, you just never would have known. They just showed up happy. And that's why you don't have any idea what's going on with somebody. So to assume is really,
never asked.
Yeah, it's not a great way to go. So we're not assuming of anything about anyone, even somebody as close as sharing a bed with.
Yeah. Don't assume that the smile means that everything's good. Take a check.
Yeah.
But are we really checking in on the people that matter in our lives? And I think it makes so much sense to touch base with people and make sure they're okay. Because it's the ones that seem like everything's great that usually end up in those types of situations, at least that I've been aware of.
And it's okay to use your senses in those conversations as well. So, hey, I've noticed, so many smiles from you lately. What's going on? Folks who are masking something will give you some surface level, some BS. So when I say senses, like you're allowed to look beyond that and be like, well, that was an interesting non-answer, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe there's something else here. And so often we go, I don't want to impose. I asked and I did my job. Really? Like, are we asking and are we caring about what the answer is? Mm-hmm. I'd say don't waste your breath if you don't care what the answer is anyway.
That's a very legitimate point. Yeah. So number 8, way to build connection, is knowing and speaking each other's love languages. I want to talk about this for a minute. First, I want to know, what's your go-to repair move?
Ooh.
This is such an interesting question. What's your go-to repair move? Something's flashing in your head. Are you touch? Do you have a phrase you like to say? Do you make a joke? What's your thing that you do? And what you're doing could actually have to do with your love language. Mm-hmm. Now, here's my question for you, though. Does it match your partner's love language? Because you're looking to make repair with the other person. I say partner because love languages, usually you'll know your partner's love language. Now, I'm going to go on a little side note here because I would not say I'm an expert on love languages, but I would say I know a whole hell of a lot about love languages. Now, the love languages were actually coined by Gary Chapman. He's the one who coined it. Has a book called Love Languages. He has 5. There's a couple different books you can read. But I'm going to tell you that the book that I actually prefer it's called The Noticer. It's a short book. It's by Andy Andrews. Fantastic story. Something you might want to check out. In that book, he actually calls it the idea that people express and receive love in different dialects. I like that he uses the term dialects because they don't feel as far apart as different languages. He says there are 4 spoken words of affirmation. That's feeling loved and appreciated through verbal expressions. So when Jen says, I need you to say to me nice things, and that makes me feel loved, that's what she's talking about. Second one is favors and deeds, demonstrating love through actions and acts of service, like helping with chores or running errands. Third one is physical contact, which is expressing love through physical touch, such as hugging or holding hands. And the fourth one is quality time, feeling love through focused, undivided attention and spending meaningful time together. Now, for those of you that do know the 5 love languages, you're going to say, okay, where's gifts? Well, I'm going to tell you, I don't actually think gifts is a love language. And in reading Gary Chapman's book, when he talks about the 5 love languages, he actually makes a reference to the gift of time. And that bothers me because I go, but that's not gift, that's quality time. Now, do I think that gifts have a space and a purpose for showing gestures of kindness, 100%. He references in the book that in some cultures, when you go to places, you are given a gift for arriving or you are given a gift for leaving. This is a cultural thing. It's like bringing a hostess gift when you come to a party or something. These are definitely kindnesses. I'm not arguing that. I do tell you, I've tested a lot of people for love languages, and the only people who've ever come out as gifts is teenagers.
Oh, there you go.
I find that kind of interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, that does make sense. Yeah, I would put gifts in favors and deeds. I would put that in that category.
So I feel like gifts comes into other categories. I don't feel like it's actually its own love language. That's just me disagreeing with Gary Chapman, though. So it is important to know, for example, my partner is physical touch. So I know when I'm in repair with him, I need to be hugging, rubbing his arm. So one of my moves is to touch. That's my repair move. And the reason I do that is because I know he's a physical touch person. I am a words of affirmation person. He knows that. So his repair moves tend to be more what he is speaking to me, saying things to me that make me feel loved. Those are his go-to repair moves. I think it's a good point to know, because sometimes, like, let's say he was physical touch and his repair move would be to touch my arm. We're arguing and he wants to settle me down and he's touching my arm, and that's just doing nothing for me because that's your language, not mine. I feel love by the words. Knowing how your partner is creates that connection and also can affect, like, what is your go-to repair move? Just something to think about. Even a small daily action in your partner's language builds long-term intimacy.
And guess what? It's okay to tell your partner what your language is if they haven't gotten it.
Yeah.
If you're like, this dude keeps touching my arm and he's not giving me what I need, they can't read your mind. You have to be able to say, hey, you know what makes me feel better in times like this? It's this.
Here's how I feel loved. I feel loved when you compliment me, letting me know I'm a good person, letting me know I have value.
Yeah, I'm appreciated for whatever it is that you find appreciation for.
Great word. I would also say, when you're dealing with love languages or dialects, whatever you want to refer to it as, these are spectrums. Like, I am also a words of affirmation person. Just because I'm a words of affirmation person does not mean I don't like you giving me the physical affection. I like that as well. I'm not opposed to that. So there are nuances. I do enjoy favors. So understand that doesn't mean I'm just talk to me nicely and don't do any of these other things. We're more complex than that. Just something to keep in mind.
I'll tell you, in order to screw things up even more, we both did the love languages. We read the book, we did the test. I came out damn near equal on every single, there was nothing that was like, yeah. So I had to sit and break it down and be like, well, most of the time this would work. And, but really, when we're talking like 22, 23% across the board, I was like, well, good luck figuring Jen out.
Yeah. You're like, I'm just more confusing than everyone else.
Yeah. Well, that's where communication is key. In this moment, I think this would help me, but that requires a little bit of self-observation and the ability to understand that, number one, the person across from you cannot read your mind. And number two, you need to give them some help sometimes because maybe they really are trying and you're just really working hard to make it impossible for them. So we want to be open to the team. We want to be open to the repairs. What we want to do is we want to practice micro moments of presence. Against popular belief, you don't actually need hours and hours of quality time. You need intentional moments. You could sit together and hold eye contact for 30 seconds. That might sound funny. Try it. We've done all of the things. The first few times that we did this, I will tell you that it was like I was meeting this person all over again. It was emotional. I had tears, no speaking. When I say that these moments changed us, they say that your eyes are the window to your soul. There really might be something to that because it changed me. I went, oh, I'm in love with this man and I just carry so much anger and so much resentment and all of the four horsemen, so much defensiveness. It's really difficult for me to be in this space with you. And then when we sat there, just us staring into each other's eyes, it was like, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. It changed me. And it was 30 seconds. 30 seconds is nothing in your day. It was a very intimate thing, and it did something for us. I tell you, it's just personal experience. Micro moments. Touch. We high five a lot in this house. A shoulder passing by, a little squeeze, a hug, a little kiss. The Gottmans actually say that a 6-second kiss keeps people happy longer in longer term relationships. When you leave the house, when somebody leaves the house, 6-second kiss, that'll do it. Yeah.
I'm like sitting here counting 6 seconds going, I think that might lead to something else.
Gotta go to work, babe.
Stay home, honey.
Yeah. Well, there's some repair right there.
Hey.
Yeah. So, hey, that's a good way of saying it inside a family too. Hey, kids, me and your mom, we're gonna go repair something real quick in the bedroom. The point is really, you don't need hours. You need intentional moments. So figure out what that looks like to you and the person that you're attempting to do this with. And a very, very important thing, we need to self-regulate before you're able to co-regulate. So what does that mean? A strong relationship is made up of 2 regulated nervous systems, yours and that other person's. So what needs to happen? You really need to be able to walk away from this to regulate yourself before you can participate in the repair. So take a breath. Take a walk. See if you can name your emotions before reacting in those moments. The more you yourself are able to self-regulate, the safer the relationship feels for both parties.
I love that. These are so good. I want to run through these really quick. So connection tips we had to keep your connection strong: turn toward, not away. Say something appreciative every day. Mind your storytelling. Use gentle startups for hard topics. Make repair attempts and accept them. Create rituals of connection. Check in with curiosity, not assumption. Know your partner's love language and speak it daily. Practice micro moments of presence and self-regulate before you co-regulate. Those are so good. I'm going to give you a bonus. This is 3 questions you can ask, a nightly 3-minute practice. Ask each other. Number 1, what went well in our relationship today? That's a relationship win. Number 2 was, what's one small thing I can do for you tomorrow? Forecasting for the next day. Number 3, how can I better support you right now? I think these are brilliant questions, especially after there's been conflict, because this is going to absolutely create repair.
Yeah, this is your opportunity for those high five moments.
Yep.
What went well with us today? Well, we're here and we don't hate each other tonight. High five.
Well, you might be surprised to the answer of that. Maybe if you take the time to ask your partner what went well in our relationship today, their answer may be something that you didn't even realize that you did right.
Yes.
And then there's that feeling of, I did good. I did something right, you know?
Yeah.
I
loved that text you sent me in the middle of the day. It really perked me up because you didn't know I was having a bummer day. You know, it was really cool to hear from you in the afternoon before you went off to whatever. You know, those things you're like, oh, I just thought it was nothing and they thought it was everything. That's really a great thing to know about your person.
Yes, so true.
Yeah.
Let's go into our takeaways.
Oh, wow. I know I said it before, and I am on repeat on this. This is definitely stuff we needed to know in school because it is all of life. All of life is conflict. All of life is needing to figure out how to make it better. We are humans. We are having a human experience. As wonderful as our intentions are, we sometimes accidentally hurt people in the midst of it. And I think my biggest takeaway, which is a reminder, is own it. I have to own the impact. And this is what you were talking about earlier. I have to own the impact, whether I intended that or not.
So true.
We go about living our lives to the best of our ability, and we do not know that other person's experience. So another great reminder for me is ask, what's going on with you? How can I help? How are you feeling? What needs to happen for you to feel loved? Because at the end of the day, I just want you to know that I love you. And in any way, shape, or form, I can help you understand that regularly. It matters to me. So please let me know.
Yeah, so good. That's fantastic. I would say two things. First of all, understanding the difference between reconciliation, resolution, and repair, and understanding the different pieces and parts of them helps me to understand how to work on the repair, and that it is the repair part, and that it may work longer after, especially a big C versus a little c. The other thing is make repair attempts and accept them. Options, then you can practice and you can create habits. Making repair attempts, that in itself was an aha for me. And then the accepting them, I was like, oh, hello. Yeah. How many times has that happened where I've put my arms over my chest and been like, I'm going to fight you anyway?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right.
I'm taking that.
Take it. Question time.
Question time. All right.
Who's going? You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. If you could talk to anyone in the world right now, who would it be and why?
I only get one. Okay. I'm going to choose the Dalai Lama. And the reason I'm not choosing the other ones is they all have podcasts and things that I can listen to. I find the Dalai Lama fascinating in his genuineness and the way he shows up. I know there was a faux pas of something last year or the year before that, and it had to do with a phrase, and it was misunderstood by our culture. And I feel like he is just such the person who shows up in kindness and joy in a very high way. And because of that, I'm going to choose that I would have a conversation with him. I want to dive deeper into how he shows up and the way he shows up.
Ooh, good one.
Yeah.
Great answer.
So question for you, what music are you currently into and what music would you never listen to?
Oh gosh. The never part has been pretty consistent in my life. And that's the screamo, really hardcore. I can't. That's too much for my brain. I don't process that genre well. It makes me actually feel anxiety a little. It's just too much input for me all at once. It makes me feel the same way as when all three kids are in the living room play wrestling and inevitably somebody gets hurt. All of the noise. It's just a lot of noise. So for me personally, that is it. What am I listening to now? When I'm in my car by myself is really the only time that I get to listen to music that I want to listen to. Yesterday, when I was running some errands, I put on a playlist called Feel Good Jazz. It's like upbeat and no words. I don't have to process anything. It just was kind of like a fun thing to drive around in, and it just lifted my mood a little bit. So I went, we don't do this enough in my house. Play nonverbal music. I really was enjoying that the other day. I think that is something that I'm gonna start implementing in the house.
Love it.
Yeah.
Great answer.
Thanks.
I like that kind of music too.
Yeah.
It's helpful sometimes, especially when you don't need any more input.
Yes.
Well, if this episode brought something up for you, a moment you haven't let go of, a person you've been thinking about, or even just a feeling you can't quite name, just know this. You don't need perfect words or perfect timing to take a step toward healing. Start small, be gentle, start with yourself, because reconciliation isn't a one-time fix. It's a way of showing up with honesty, curiosity, and care. This week, try one small repair or reconnection with someone you love, or even just with yourself. And if something shifted for you in this conversation, we'd love to hear about it. Send us a message on our Instagram at Lessons of the Journey. And hey, if this episode made you think of someone you want to reach out to, send it their way. It might just be the nudge they needed too.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Write your lines with passion, let your spirit freely roam. The lessons of your journey will lead you safely home.